Good morning, everyone. Let me just post this in Telegram. See if we get a few more people to follow from our group. Okay, that's all done. And then I'll turn off the music. I don't want that to be too distracting. And we'll just check YouTube, see that we're live. And appears to be. Yep, all good. Okay, nobody coming in. Somebody's in here yet. Let me know where you're watching from. Okay, so we're looking at gold XAU USD on the 10-minute time frame. And it's Monday, already the first week of May. 4th of May, 2026. Hard to believe. January, February, March, April already gone. And this is the trendline strategy. We've just gone past 8 o'clock a.m. in Indochina time. And that's Southeast Asia, Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam, Thailand. And let's see what gold is going to do this week. We've had a low, previous day low yesterday, 45.60, and that was the low pretty much throughout the week last week. So that's a strong support for 45.60. So we're likely to go back down there and test that again, or possibly break below that. And then we had a high on Friday of 46.60. So a $100 difference between the low on Friday and the high on Friday. And what have we got today? We've got a gap up, gapped up to 46.39, and then has started to fall down. Very bearish looking today. Tokyo started to push it down on this first candle, then they changed their mind, and then they went back to bearish. And then just before Singapore and Shanghai opened, just before that, they pushed it back up to this pivot point at 46.10. And now Singapore and Shanghai are open, and they're looking very bearish. Big ass red candle here on the first 10-minute candle from Shanghai. So we'll just sit back and relax. I don't never do anything on the first candle. I hope my internet connection is good today. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. We'll see how it goes. If you're watching, let me know where you're watching from. Just type in the comment section. If you got any questions or inquiries, let me know. And of course, if you want to reach out to me privately, you can do that on Telegram. My Telegram ID is @RickRayFX. That's my main messaging service. And I have a Telegram chat group for traders. If you'd like to be added to that group, just reach out to me, let me know, and I'll add you to the group. And of course, don't forget to check out my website, rickrayfx.com, where you'll find more information about trading, free indicators, free trading course, information about prop firms, everything you need to know to help you get started and set up for trading the markets. I hope you had a good weekend wherever you are in the world. It was pretty quiet where I live. Just a normal weekend, nothing to write home about, as they say. And let's see what oil is doing. Oil is dropping a little bit. I did read the headlines. I scanned through the headlines this morning, and it seems that the U.S. Navy is going to allow some ships to leave the Strait of Hormuz. I don't really understand what that's about. I thought Trumpy Dumpty was going to blockade the strait until Iran came to the terms and conditions that the U.S. had laid out for them. But now things seem to have changed again. I don't know. It changes from day to day. They don't really seem to have a plan on how to end this war. Been going on for more than 2 months now, and we're looking at the trend line strategy here, guys. Okay, if you follow me, you know how I use this. We have the upward trend line that goes back to the monthly chart. This is the top-down analysis from the monthly to the weekly, the daily, 4 hour, 1 hour, now to the 10 minute. And this upward trend, if this breaks and closes below the trend line, then that's my indication to go short. However, in my strategy, my rules-based strategy, I would place my stop loss up here above the red line, the downward trend line, now called the safety line, and it would be way up here. So that would be about a $40 stop loss, 400 pips. Now that's too much of a stop loss for me. I'm not willing to risk that. So as this is continuing down, it looks like it might. It's the first candle. We don't do anything on the first candle. Lost way up 400 pips away. That's too much of a risk for me. That's beyond my uh, rules-based strategy. So I will be waiting for this to work its way over in this area here later in the morning. So what I'm saying is I'm very unlikely to take a short trade here. In fact, I won't take a short trade on this candle. No way. It's too far away. Too far away between where I would execute the trade and take my stop loss. But that's okay. The market will present an opportunity later in the session. I don't suffer from FOMO. So what do we think that gold is going to do? Gold is bearish. Okay, it's definitely bearish. If you look at the big picture, the long-term charts, the daily chart, it's definitely bearish. So we're likely what just a little bit of a not predicting the market, but what you might what we might see today is that gold will come down and to this 45.60 level where it was last week, several days during last week, 45.60, and perhaps break even below that, and then head to lower prices, or just come down and do a liquidity grab and then come back up for a while. But this is a big ass red candle here. The bears have control right now. There's no question about that. Oh, good morning, Raj. Nice to see you here today. You agree? Not sure what you agree on, but that's cool. Well, definitely now that first candle is finished, the second one is starting. And as I just said, I'm not going to go short. There's too much distance between where I would place my stop loss up here based on my rules-based strategy, and that's just too far away. I just let it go. Maybe get an opportunity to come in later in the session when it's more realistic for my stop loss. And that candle is finished, so I'll now adjust this trend line. There we go. And even the next candle is breaking the trend line. So the price of oil is coming down a little bit. It did get up to $106 last week. Now at 98. Trumpty Dumpty says he's going to let some ships out of the Strait of Hormuz. So that's I'm quite sure we'll probably start to see lower prices if the ships start to uh, navigate their way out of the strait. Then we're likely to see lower prices on. Now, will lower prices on oil, will that help gold? Will that turn gold bullish? I don't think so. I really, of course, the market does what the market does, but I don't expect that will have an influence on the price of gold. Yeah, I had a great weekend. Great weekend. Very quiet. My Saturdays and Sundays are very quiet. I went to see a movie on Saturday night, I guess it was. Um, Something about Prada. I can't even remember. I see so many movies. I see two or three movies a week at the cinema. The Devil Loves Prada, The Devil Wears Prada, version two, the sequel, with a couple of several famous actors. It was okay, it was enjoyable. But I'm kind of a movie buff. I like to go to the movies. Other than that, I went to the. I've started my routine again. Renewed my membership at the gym, so I'll go again today in a couple of hours. Good to be back in that routine. So where is everybody today? Nobody's here. I even posted in Telegram to announce, but that's okay. A lot of people come back and look at the recording. So we could look at the news. Let me see if I can share this forexfactory.com without screwing up the streaming that I've got going. Let's see if that will pop up. There we go. Yeah, forexfactory.com. A little bit of a light week, but for those of you down under, you might be interested, and you might be very interested. You should be interested. Tomorrow is the Australian interest rate, and believe it or not, the Australian central bank has decided to raise, at least their forecast, to raise the interest rate 25 basis points. And that's going to be a dramatic move on the Australian currency, no question about it. If that happens, you'll see a big move on the Australian currency. So if you're trading the odd US, odd CAD, pound odd, euro odd, anything with the Australian dollar, you want to be watching that one for sure. They're, as far as I know, they're the first central bank that is starting to raise interest rates. Because, inflation is increasing around the world, and that's what the central banks do. They raise the interest rate to try and bring down inflation. And this is the first one I've seen that's forecast, at least, to raise the interest rate. And then, other than that, we got on Tuesday also the ISM PMI data for the U.S. economy, and then nothing much else. Employment on New Zealand, and then on Friday, of course, the first Friday, not really, but you know, uh, last Friday was only the first day of the month, so they put it to the next Friday. Typically, it's on the first Friday of the month. We have the non-farm employment change, always a big mover and shaker. and the forecast is quite low. So we'll just see how that turns out on Friday. That's the most watched news item for forex traders, non-farm employment change. And we'll go back to our chart. Can I check? Can I check UJ? Check the UJ. Yes, I don't trade the UJ. I don't trade currencies anymore, but we can certainly have a look at that by request. Let me just reset my chart. Of course, this is on the 15-minute. This is on the 10-minute time frame. Well, we had a big drop on Friday. Okay, you might want to look on the daily chart here. Okay. Hmm. Boy, last week was tough for the Japanese yen. Big drop. That was on Thursday, and then Friday didn't do much, and today it's coming up a little bit. So, zooming out a little bit, this is, of course, because of the strengthening of the U.S. dollar that we've been seeing during the war. But then I believe it was last week that the Japanese yen did something with their interest rate, and that would have been good for the Japanese yen, and then that would have been the reason for this candle here. I don't remember the news from last week. I think that's what it was. Go back to gold. I don't know if that's what you wanted to see, Raj. Yeah, the Bank of Japan intervening, trying to add some strength to the Japanese yen. So we're going to see continuing strengthening of the U.S. dollar, I believe, as the year progresses. If the central banks, if the Federal Reserve puts up the interest rate, then that will strengthen the U.S. dollar, and that will put pressure on gold, the one that we trade. But now Jerome Powell is about to finish his term. I believe it's been an 8-year term in the Federal Reserve, and they got this new guy coming in. That's not confirmed yet, but that's probably what's going to happen. And this new guy is he's picked by Trumpty Dumpty, and so is he going to lower interest rates? Okay, pro crypto. Well, that's good. That's great. Anybody pro crypto is that's cool. But the suspicion is that he's going to do what Trumpty Dumpty wants, and Trumpty Dumpty wants to lower interest rates, and that will all be very very strange for the markets to be lowering interest rates when inflation is going up. That won't make any sense at all. He says he won't, but we just have to wait and see. Hey, you never know what these guys in power are going to do. You just never know. Especially Trumpty Dumpty. You don't know what side of the bed he's going to wake up on. Oh. But we know the markets give us opportunities to make money every day. And we can have a strategy that tells us what the price action is doing and which way we should trade. And most of the time, if we have a good strategy and we trust our strategy, we can get it and make some money. Of course, no strategy works all the time. All strategies work some of the time, but no strategy works all of the time. Like I had what was it? I guess it was Friday. I had a losing trade on Friday morning, I believe it was. I trade every day, so it's hard to remember exactly. but I think I went short, and then the market. Let's just go back and look at yesterday, Friday. Yeah. Okay. This was around right in here. Yeah, I went short here, and then the market came down on one candle, and then it reversed, and I cut my loss right about in here somewhere. Yeah. So that trade didn't work out. That's one of the times that it doesn't work out. It doesn't work all the time. Most of the time, the strategy works, but that one didn't. Now, if I'd have had a bigger, it just came up here where my stop loss was, and it would have hit the stop loss exactly where the stop loss was. And but I didn't want to. I didn't. You never know, So I didn't want to. I cut my loss here. If I had held on to that trade, whoa! But I didn't come back later in the day and get any of this. Although we get a good trade in the Wall Street section. So just bringing out the point that the trade doesn't, the strategy, whatever you've got, doesn't work all the time. But if you trust it and it does work, it will work all the time. Now, after this big ass red candle, we've got a doji, a long-legged doji, and a little bit of a green candle for this one. So we're on our third 10-minute candle here after that big move down. And let's see which way it's going to go, George. Boy, Raj, you're the only one in here today. Don't know where everybody's gone. I'm pretty sure I will get a trade later in the session. This is a little different chart than what I normally show. This one I have the Asian session boxed out, and this will be here. This will be the last candle of the Asian session, and then after that it starts London right there. So I have this session boxed out, and you can see I gradually adjust my lows and highs on the Asian session. But right over in, let's see, right about just before the Asian session closes, we start to get Tokyo comes back from lunch. All the traders, they come back from lunch before the Asian session closes. And you can see over here, no, it doesn't show it on this chart. Sometimes you can get a good trade. I don't have it on there either. Sometimes I mark the times when I get good trade. Usually at about 4 hours from now, I'll get a good trade with the closing of the Tokyo session before London opens. Sometimes that will set the trend for the day. It didn't do it over here. Let's see. Where was that? Yeah, right here. This candle right here. This is where I'm really watching very, very closely. This is all the Tokyo traders. They've come back from lunch, and they got 2 hours left on their closing session, and then you can get a good trade right in there. I always watch this time right here. This candle here. 4 hours from now. Almost, it's like three, five, 4 out of 5 days that this turns out to be a good move. So that'll be the one I'm watching for today because this is what we're looking at now is not the kind of trade I like to take with the too much of a stop loss between the execution and where I would put my stop loss up here. Well, slow Monday, it's still the first 30 minutes of the Singapore Shanghai session, and it's slow, but Asia session is slow. maybe another 30 minutes or so on that next hourly candle. They'll do something. No, no bank holiday that I know of. What are we talking here? On Tuesday, on the 5th of May, no bank holiday that I know of. Possibly in Hong Kong, Singapore, Shanghai. I don't know of any bank holiday. You could be right. Bank holiday. I don't know. Let me just Google that and see what comes up. For Monday, public and bank holidays are observed in several Asian countries, primarily marking the beginning of Japan's Golden Week. Oh, how about that? Mm, well, it just says in Japan it's part of the Golden Week sequence. I didn't know anything about that, and that's all that I see for bank holidays in Asia. Mm, Thailand recognizes this date as a public holiday. I didn't know that. Armenia and China celebrates public holidays on this day. Okay, maybe you're right, Raj. You're the news guy for sure. Okay, maybe you're right. That could be a reason we're not seeing a whole lot of movement here. And Children's Day, well, yeah, we had Children's Day in Thailand on the weekend, and they gave free movies for everybody yesterday. Oh, he's chatting in it. Lord Almighty, low volume. Oh, low volume. Yeah, could be low volume. Yeah, but is that? Let me see. Is that just a one day thing in China? Uh, Japan observes Greenery Day, a national holiday. Thailand also recognizes this date as a public holiday, and Armenia and China celebrate public holidays on this day. Okay, so maybe it's a one day thing. All right, but we're still getting a good move here, eh? A good bearish move. For those of you that work, maybe you do scalping. If you use something besides the trend line strategy, which I use, this would be. I don't take this trade because it's too much of a stop loss for me. But this has been a good move so far. This first big candle, and it's already dropped what? Oh, 200 pips. It's already dropped $20. Yeah. So it's only you here, Raj. I'm really surprised. Maybe everybody has the Monday blues. Everybody had a rough weekend. I don't know. Boy, this thing is really starting to continue now. Here's the The, the next candle, this is like 4 candles in a row. Wow, big move so far. The first one, that's the 8 o'clock candle, 8:10, 8:20, 8:30. Okay, well, I'm going to sign out, Raj. Uh, I'm not going to be taking a trade. I think that's pretty clear. At least not now. I'll come back in 4 hours and see what the Tokyo close is going to look like. And I hope you have a good trading day today. Thanks for being here. I do appreciate that, of course. And anybody that's watching the recording, if you have any comments or inquiries, let me know. I will get back to you. And of course, don't forget to press that like button. It does help the channel. Have a great day wherever you are in the world. I'll see you again tomorrow.